You got to laugh at Kenny Miller. He's been at it again, and you wonder what goes on in the mind of somebody like Kenny Miller. Does he do it just for shits and giggles, or is he actually serious? Is there an internal meltdown going on in Kenny Miller's head again? I'm going to talk about that in a minute. I'm going to talk about the cup final, because let's face it, the cup final, and this ties in with the whole Kenny Miller story. The cup final is the most important game to Celtic now in the next 2 weeks. Whilst everyone else finishes their league this weekend, Celtic still do have the Scottish Cup final and a potential treble to play for. This will all tie in with the Kenny Miller story in just a second. Ange Postecoglou has been looking obviously at the squad over the last 2 weeks, and yes, what can we say about it? There has been the ongoing story about Ardon Jashari, a 20-year-old Swiss international, who, let's face it, could be a brilliant partnership in the midfield. Is he the whole midfield player that we need, though? I think that Callum McGregor plays better when he's further forward. I don't think that Callum McGregor was that replacement for Scott Brown sitting in the holding midfield. I think Callum McGregor is always better when he's further up the pitch and he's attacking the other box. But if you bring in somebody like Ardon Jashari who dominates midfield, he is only 20-year-old though. Is he ready for the Champions League? Is he ready for that next stage? Is it a player that we're wide off the mark with? As Ange Postecoglou said last week, when he was asked about a certain player, he said that the totally wide off the mark. So you know what Ange Postecoglou is like. And at the end of the video, we're going to look at some of the comments, because the comments from yesterday's video were quite interesting. So let's get to the cup final first before Kenny Miller, because it all ties in with the crazy Kenny Miller thoughts. Inverness goalkeeper Mark Ridges cannot wait for the Scottish Cup final. He insisted that Highlanders will be going to Hampden with silverware success in their sights, something that Rangers have not had this season. The Inverness number one was delighted to be back in the park this weekend as his team travelled to Northern Ireland. And let's face it, they're in the final. You've got to give them credit for being in the final. It's something that the Rangers have not done this season. So whilst the Inverness goalkeeper is enjoying the moment, he's enjoying the fact that his team are going to get all suited up and they're going to walk out to Hampden in the sun on the 3rd of June. And it's a proud moment for any player. And Kenny Miller's done it. One thing that Michael Beale hasn't done this season is walked out in a final and been a champion, or won the league, or won anything of any significance. But Kenny Miller says, since the arrival of the 42-year-old, Rangers have picked up more points than Celtic. Oh, here he goes. Right, you've got to listen to this. Considering that Celtic have took their foot off the gas since they won the league, Rangers have secured 55 points since Beale took over. Now, the season is a bit more than 52 points. And Celtic have picked up 54. So they're 1 point ahead of us. I don't know where he gets it from. I don't know how he comes up with it. He believes that Rangers are finishing the season on some sort of high. Yep. Chris Boyd does anyway. I think, are they all at it? Are they all at it? Seriously? I don't know. He's really positive and convinced that with... He's nuts, right? I'm not even going to give him any more breathing space. Kenny Miller is completely nuts. He thinks that Rangers are going to finish this season on a high, finishing second and finishing trophyless. Kenny, you know that club is a disaster. It is a disaster when it happened to Celtic 2 seasons ago, right? Finishing second is not going toe-to-toe with Celtic, as you said on television last night. You said that Rangers can go toe-to-toe with Celtic. And on that note, let's move on swiftly, and we'll look at some of the comments from yesterday's video. So the first up is Cut Rock. He says, it looks as if clinching the league has got to the players' headspace. Pretty sure Ange will be happy with the summer break coming up. Some of those players may be getting Ange's slipper, you know where. This hardly inspiring moment thinking that the Champions League is coming up. Stevie Chalmers says, we were missing 2 key players, Johnson and CCV. That's 5 goals we've conceded in 2 games. I've mentioned the squad rotation. That is definitely what Ange needs to employ next season. Yeah, I think that we're all agreed that the fact that Carter Vickers has been out and has been playing somebody that isn't a centre back at the weekend was just kind of asking for trouble, if you ask me. But Ange's got to try it. He's got to try these things out at this time, and we've won the league. You know, it's dead rubber games for Kenny Miller to then come out and say, but that it's included. It is included. The fact that Celtic have dropped points in the last couple of weeks, it means that Rangers have actually won more points than Celtic. Moving on. Ella Grace says there are a good number of players who are not able to take us to the next level, i.e. in European games. I probably agree with you there. I think the Champions League, it depends on what level you're looking at. If you're looking at the Champions League, I did say in yesterday's video, I said I think that the fact that we should be looking at finishing at least 3rd in the Champions League so we can get that drop down place into Europa. I do think that a club of our size financially Europa is where we really are. We're never going to compete with the big teams that get into the later stages of the Champions League purely for a financial point of view. You can go back and say, well, you look what Mourinho did with Porto back in the day. It comes along once in a lifetime. Donny Boy, he says, I'm pissed off with the last couple of weeks' performances from the team. I wanted full points from the remaining game to keep the lead as wide over the Huns. Every point is a point dropped, lets them claw back the difference, and it looks like their statement of not much between the teams. It's just a statement. We need to tighten up and we need to get back to the levels that we were at before. Even Callum McGregor said that after the game at the weekend. He says for the cup final, we have a harder game than most expect. I think we will have a harder game in the cup final. It's a cup final, it's a one-off game. Kevin Carrick says Carter Vickers has been missed more than I would have imagined. I totally agree with you there. I feel that we're bringing another keeper along as a few others. Yeah, I did ask the question yesterday, is Joe Hart the man to really take us to that next level in the Champions League? Especially when you see some of the goals that he has conceded this season at that level. And just in the last couple of weeks, there was one I was looking at and he really should have got his hand to it at the weekend. John, he says, I'm genuinely surprised at the drop off in standards. I never thought Ange would preside over such performances like this. I think I don't think that Ange Postecoglou, what he went on to say, believe he won't let it last long. I don't think they'll let it last long. I think there'll be severe kicks in they'll go into training the way they'll be in training just now, Monday morning, and I think they'll be looking back at the weekends and they'll be having a right good old talk, to say the least. Jerry says, as a teenager I played with St Mary's in the Carlton. Tommy Burns, God rest him soul, he also played there before joining Celtic. John Rees was his mentor, therefore Tommy would often be seen in the clubhouse talking to John, and obviously would go on to speak to him whenever possible. He was an absolute gentleman. Kevin went on to say, says, rest in peace Tommy Burns, always in our hearts, a true Celtic legend. Strange atmosphere at Celtic Park yesterday. It was flat, not a championship winning party as it's expected for the first home game. Yeah, I was saying that in the pub also. You know, Celtic Park has changed over the years. I mean, even when I sat in 111, you used to think, you know, what is there some kind of mental barrier that goes on between like one section and the next? And it's not the Celtic Park that it was 20 years ago, when before, you know, the Green Brigades and everything, where the whole stadium was jumping about. You know, people change, people get older, people don't jump about and sing as much, but there is a definite chill was in it was a really strange atmosphere. And he also went on to say, it's the first time I've seen so many tickets trying to be sold before a match. It was a dead rubber game, it's one of those things, and especially the weekend that we were coming back, first game back at Celtic Park should really be in a party mood, and I think it was a really strange atmosphere. I think that probably got to the players also, the fact that the whole stadium wasn't jumping for the first minute, which it really should have been. Peter, he went on to say, definitely need to bring in another keeper, as Joe is coming to the end of his career, and you could see that in some of his performances. Yep, that's something that a few people have said. I felt sorry for the fans who pay an awful lot of money to travel to see us, especially those that travel over from Ireland. It was not our best play. We're still the champions. Yeah, I know quite a few of the conveners that take buses over from Ireland, and they spend a lot of money, and it's not just Ireland. There's a lot of people coming from down south. You've got you've got the Aberdeen bus as well. You know, there's buses come from all over to see Celtic, and the fact that there was people weren't there. You know, there's 1 week to go. There's people working. People are struggling for money just now as well, so you've got to take that into consideration. I think people will be there next weekend, and then they're thinking, they're obviously the ones that have got tickets for the Cup final also. People are maybe getting ready to go on holiday, I don't know. Peter Dixon also went on to say, totally agree, Joe Hart was terrible at both goals. Yeah, he definitely was that. There's one of them that I've been watching in slow motion, and he should have really got his hand to it. I don't know. Anyway, have your say in the comments. Tell me what you think. Tell me what you think about Kenny Miller. Tell me what you think about Kenny Miller saying that Celtic and Rangers can go toe to toe with Celtic. The fact that they like the 55, don't they? They have how many points have they got? Yeah, he says. I've just seen the irony of this. We have secured 55 points since Beale took over from Giovanni Van Bronckhorst, with the Hoops picking up 54. Kenny, are you just saying 55 for the banter? And on that note, have a great day, Celtic fans all around the world, and I'll see you on the next Celtic News update.
Roll up to the party, roll up to the